And good afternoon or evening or whatever time you have. Today we're going to talk about how to buy a car and save probably thousands of dollars because of a unique situation that most people don't realize. Um, Manufacturers give auto dealerships basically a kickback at the end of each month for selling a certain amount of vehicles, and they give a quota to each dealership depending on how many cars they expect they can sell. So if you got a big dealership, Toyota or Chevy or whatever, they'll say you must sell 300 cars a month. And if you don't sell that many, then you just survive on the commissions or the profits that you make on those 300 cars. But if you get over 300 cars, they will have a like a stair step uh, bonus money, basically. The more cars you sell over the so-called quota, they give the owner of the dealership thousands of dollars. Then he can spread that around to his managers and general manager and a little bit for the salesman sometimes. So the idea is by negotiating for a car at the end of a month, you can save some money because let's say the Toyota dealer has to sell, if he can sell 300 cars that month, maybe Toyota will give him an extra $20,000. And let's say at the end of the month, the dealer has only sold 290. So he's got to sell 10 more cars and either to get qualified for that extra bunch of money. So at the end of the month, and he's going to ask his general manager, well, how many cars have you sold? Well, boss, we need 10 more to get up to that over that 300. So the boss will say, okay, you do anything you have to do because you got to sell those 10 cars. And oftentimes it's a real threat because the employment in car dealerships is not by any means steady. There's people fired all the time or they quit for various reasons. So anyway, so there's a lot of threats going on in car dealerships. So anyway, so at the end of the month, that general manager of that store knows he's got to sell 10 more cars to make his boss happy, or at least keep his job even. So he'll do anything to sell those cars. So first of all, it's actually not literally the end of the month, surprisingly. The auto industry makes their end of the month usually a few days after the end of the month, especially if it's on a weekend. So like if you have a weekend that, say the end of the month is on a Friday, they're not going to cut everything off on the Friday. They're going to allow the weekend to pass by. So typically the end of the month would be the following Monday, for example, which would be into the next month. Okay, so the trick is to find out when the end of the month is, and the way to do that is to ask a salesman. Say you're shopping for a Toyota Camry or something, just call them up and say, "You got your rebates on the Camry or rebates on anything?" They say, "Oh yeah, and they're good till January 3rd." So whatever day he tells you that rebate ends, that's their official end of the month. So what you do is you go in on the end that day, in fact, even that night, because the dealer is most likely going to be under pressure to sell a certain amount of cars to get that big bonus. So you go in that afternoon, that evening, and tell them you want to get that Camry or whatever, and they will deal very hard to get you to take a vehicle home that night, literally. And so that's the advantage you're going to have is that that dealership owner wants to make a bunch of money by selling enough cars. Now you don't know how many cars he needs to sell, and probably nobody knows except maybe the general manager and the owner, and they're not going to tell you that. So it's kind of a guess. You can just figure though that they need to sell some cars for the owner to make that extra bunch of money. You don't know how many cars, and but at the end of the night they're going to be eager to sell some cars. Okay, so anyway, so now we're coming up, say the end of the year. Okay, now the end of the year, the manufacturers have lots of money they give the the dealerships, because every year they've got a quota and bonuses for selling over that quota. So the end of December, you know, that dealer owner, he may be entitled to get several hundreds of thousands of dollars extra if he can sell X amount of cars that calendar year. So it's going to be worthwhile to him to do anything to get some cars sold to get over that number, whatever it would be, 1,000 cars or whatever it be. And say he's got 100 cars to go to get that big giant bonus. Well, he's going to tell his general manager, man, you better sell a bunch of cars this last week of December. And the same thing, it's not going to be literally the end of December on December 31st. It's going to be probably January 3rd, 4th, somewhere around there, just depending on the manufacturer. And again, you just call up and ask, when's your rebates end? And they'll say, January 4th. So that's the day you go in. And again, you don't really know how many cars they need to sell. You only know that chances are they're going to do some really big discounts towards the end of that night. And so you go in even late at night. And don't worry about, they say they're closing at 9 o'clock at night. If you're there trying to buy a car, they're going to stay open as long as it takes to get that car sold and you driving out. It might be midnight, it might be 1 o'clock in the morning. Rest assured, the closing time means nothing at the end of the year or the end of the month, as a matter of fact, either. So just get in there late, start negotiating. Now, this advice is for people who want to negotiate, because the people in car dealerships, they do this every day. You may think you're a great negotiator, but these guys do it every day. They are the world's best negotiators. So even though you might be a very good negotiator, they're still going to win, and they're going to make it very difficult for you to get that price lower. So this process is going to take hours, literally. You go in, they'll give you a price, and by the way, the salesman cannot negotiate a price. You might think he is, but he has no authority to do anything except tell you the price. And then what happens is, if you say, no, that's too high, then he'll give you some sales pitch, and then he'll go get his sales manager. Sales manager has some authority to negotiate the price, and he'll be the one who comes in and says hello to you and says, well, what it'll take for you to buy today, and start gradually lowering the prices a little teeny bit, because this is going to take hours. All right, and then you still say, no, that's too high, don't worry. In fact, you could even start walking out, and they're going to catch up with you and bring you back. So no matter what you do, they're going to keep you there, and you just keep saying, no, that's too high. And it might be and they'll say, well, what will it take? And you'll say, well, discount that $10,000. And in a sense, that may not be good, because they know that it may be unrealistic, and they know that they can negotiate maybe $1,000 less or 500. They know they're just going to keep on with their game. So no matter what you say, they're just going to keep on pounding you and wearing you out. Okay, so now say it's closing time, and they say, oh, it's closing time. Would you like to get you, this will give you a big sales pitch. Oh, what can we do to get you to buy this car? It's closing time. Well, you still resist, and now it's midnight, and this thing's still going on. They're lowering the price slowly and slowly and slowly, and eventually you're going to be able to get a heck of a deal. In fact, assuming, like, say that the owner can get $200,000 by selling an extra 10 cars, or even your car, selling your car will put him over the edge. Well, he can give that car to you and still come out heavy. Or say he had to sell 10 more cars to get to his bonus thing. He could give away 10 cars and still make $200,000, for example. So they're not literally going to give you a car, because the word would get around, hey, that guy's giving away cars. So they're going to negotiate very hard. They're going to give you a very good discount, but they're not going to literally give you the car. However, there are some dealerships you might see in your area that advertise, buy this vehicle and we'll give you a free car. We've got one here in Florida. It's a Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram dealer. And the idea that what they're doing, again, you got to look at the fine print. But what you do is you buy their most expensive vehicle, which is $120,000, 130,000 or something, and then they will give you the smallest car they have, a Dodge Colt, I think it is, or something. But the markup on these expensive vehicles, the SUVs and the trucks, can be $50,000, some crazy number. So they can afford to literally give you a car if you buy that most expensive vehicle at the manufacturer suggested retail value, which is the requirement in the fine prints, by the way. Because they're making so much money on that, they can literally give you a car. But anyway, that might indicate that they've got an excess of this one particular vehicle, the $130,000 car, and they probably can't sell the small cars because small cars are harder to sell, not as popular, and they don't make that much profit to begin with. So that might be a clue. That dealer is going to be dealing real hard at the on January 3rd or whatever. Okay, so anyway, that's the basis on how to get the very best price, uh, especially at the end of the year, but at the end of every month. And then just keep in mind the tricks of the negotiation. The salesman has no authority to do anything except give you that price. Sales manager can lower the price. Then if he can't get you to buy, then he'll go to the general manager and ask the general manager, oh, can I lower this thing anymore or whatever. Um, and then the final negotiation, which again will maybe take hours, is when you get into what they call the F&I department, the finance and insurance. And that's where they make the most profit when they sell you warranty, extended warranties, and various products that they have. They will the guy in the finance office, they sometimes call him business manager. He makes way more than the salesman, and I think way more than most sales managers, because those items he sells you are very, very profitable. So anyway, you're going to have to negotiate with him. Typically, I recommend don't even bother buying extended warranty. Don't buy any of that stuff. Uh, it's really not needed unless you're the type of person who cannot absolutely afford something breaking down or something, and for peace of mind, you want to do that. But it's way, way overpriced. Uh, and highly profitable for them, that's for sure. So anyway, so basically, if you can just keep saying no, 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 no when you get into the finance office and then drive away. Oh, another tactic, by the way, is since they make so much money on the financing and also financing the vehicle, so they have tricks of that too, where the bank will say, we'll get a dealership, we'll finance this car for 6%. Well, the finance guy, he's going to tell you the best I can get you is 8%. So he's going to charge as much interest as he can. Then the difference is the profit, the extra profit they make. So what the tactics is lead these salespeople to believe that you're going to finance the car, because they'll lower the price of the vehicle thinking that they're going to make it up on the finance, which typically they do. So you just lead them to believe you're going to finance. And then when you get in the finance office, let them go through the spiel and then say, well, I think I'll just pay cash. And then you write out a check for that negotiated low price that you got, and don't finance it at all. So anyway, that's some of the tips on how to get the best price at the end of the month or at the end of the year, which is the very, very best time. And also remember, this salesman makes a little bit. He might make a couple $100. The sales manager, he might make $400. The general manager might make $800. All depends. The owner is going to make several $1,000s at least on each vehicle. And it just depends on how much financing and all that stuff they can sell you. But as you go up the ladder, each of those guys makes more and more commission. And everybody at a car dealership is on commission. Even when you go in for service, you get your oil changed. That guy that's writing up the order, he's on commission. And so typically he's going to say, well, would you like us to check the air conditioner? Or would you like us to do a safety check or whatever? Because the more he can sell you, the more he's making because he's on commission. Everybody in a car dealership is surviving on commission. It's unbelievable. Okay, so anyway, if you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments. If you like the videos, subscribe and leave comments, and we'll talk to you next time. See if I can give you some more tips as a former car guy from years ago, and give you some more tips on how to save money on buying vehicles. Okay, talk to you later.